Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Mwah. So it has been a minute since well, not really, really hasn't been a minute. I don't have a schedule. I don't have a set schedule and maybe I just need to go ahead and just create a set schedule. But I like to talk about things. I like the natural flow of things instead of, although I am intentional and everything that I do is purposeful, right? There's a purpose that's being served in what I do. But welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. More than anything, leave a comment. My community, or should I say our community, is open to all perspectives. As you know, or for those that don't, I am not an expert. However, I am an expert when it comes to my life experiences, things that I've observed through the years, right? So I know something. I know a little something, but every day I wake up not wanting to know anything. You know what I mean? Just so I could create room to receive and learn more, if that makes sense. So the last, as you all know, we've been going over my book and kind of just talking about the chapters. We're in chapter 2 for the love of relationships. And we're talking about Gina relationships. And we're talking about Gina. Now, Gina, according to according to the description of Gina, she's like perfect, right? She's this perfect make. She's been struggling with men issues. And we're talking about her journey, Gina. And I should also say this too. This is, although it is not a nonfiction book. Let me take that. It's a fictional book. Although these characters have been created, their situations and journeys have been created, understand this, that there are always things that we can learn from, that we can take away, that we can actually, apply to our life. And see, I love nonfiction. I like real sugar honey iced tea. And my first fictional book was The Alchemist. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. The situations and the things that the young man has gone through in that book, it seemed so like real sugar honey iced tea. But that was the first time I've come to learn that you can take you can create, something that's not based on a true story and create it, to where it will resonate with people. But in the midst of resonating with them, you create a journey, a story of lessons that can be learned, that people can apply to their lives and excel and grow. So that's what I did with this. Make sure you go to the link, get your copy. I'm not trying to get rich off of selling books. I just want to, there's a point that I just want to make with you. That's it. And trust me, you will get it. You will most definitely get it. So the book is like, I want to say like $5 and some change. That's it. $5 and some change. And then you can also download the ebook, which is less than that, or probably, I don't know. I want to say less than that. It's less than that. I don't want to say nothing. And then people be coming for me. Don't come for me. All right, so we left off with in the last video, I titled the last video, "You Ain't Being Real." You ain't being real, Gina. What's going on? So I want to say we stopped at page. I want to say that we stopped at page 11. And of course, we talked about, or did we stop at page 10? We stopped at page 10. We hadn't even gotten past page 10. For the love of relationships, what comes to mind when you think of that? For the love of relationships, things that people do to be in a relationship. You have different types of people. You have people who just love being in relationships. So they go from one relationship to another, to another, to another. There's no breaks in between. Then you have people who are in relationships because they just don't want to be alone. There's an insecurity of being alone because they don't know how to be alone. So they find themselves in relationships that just don't make any sense. Then you have people who want to be married desperately, so bad to the point that the first man that asks, "Will you marry me?" they say yes. And they find themselves in a abusive, not so healthy, toxic relationship, and then don't have children involved. Now you taking it to a whole nother level of toxicity. Now you're, instead of breaking the cycle, you either continuing it or you're creating a new one. Isn't that something? Then you have women. I was saying people at first, but it goes both ways if you think about it. It really do. It goes both ways. But you do have women who see their friends who are married and they just want what they have, not really understanding what it takes, not understanding the sacrifices, the compromises, the disagreements, the agreements, not understanding the hard part of a marriage. And then when they try to emulate what they seen, it's not really what they thought it was. People want the wedding. Women want some, not all, but there are some women who want the wedding. You know, they want the happy moments, the, oh my gosh, you know, they want that. They want the beautiful dress. They want the attention of, you know, oh my gosh, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. You look amazing. They want that from a lot of people. However, they don't necessarily want the marriage. And so this is why you hear them say, you know, I wish I could just have my wedding all over again, because it represents the happiness, the good times, you know, the momentum of, you know, love, relationship as we think it is there. When truly love is unconditional. It is unconditional. However, some people, you know, believe that love is, you know, when you use the word unconditional, that means you stay in that abusive relationship. You allow him to hit you. You stay in it, even though he's verbally abusive, even though he's putting you down, keeping you away from family and friends. You stay in it because guess what? We in this through thick and thin. It's unconditional love. This is it. Hello. No. Love is patient. I always refer back to the love that the book of life represents love as being patient. It's being kind. Love doesn't hurt. However, love will be honest. Love will push you, not push you, but allow you to grow and be. Love has no boundaries. Love doesn't want to train you. I had a girlfriend tell me, Gail, you just have to train them. Huh? Although that may be some women believe that you just have to train them. But, one word can change an entire meaning. Training, I'm thinking you train an employee. You train a dog. You train, you see what I mean? And not know if you have to train your mate, or you have to train your husband or wife. Now, mind you, it goes both ways. Then Houston, we have a problem. So if you're creating a problem in the beginning, you can't expect things to just be smooth sailing during and towards the end of that marriage or relationship. But I'm not here to be doing all that. I don't know how did I get into all of that? But anyway, we're here to talk about this book. That's it. We're here to talk about For the Love of Relationships. I got on a tangent. My apologies. But we're on page 10. And we left off at the second paragraph. She was a perfect catch. At least that's what everyone thought. Moving on to the next paragraph, there's a pattern to everything you do. Understand that we're all creatures of habits. We just have these habits that we've, coupled with learned behavior, things that, we saw, excuse me, early on, things that, we grew up and we watched, we learned. Those are learned behaviors. It's not something that, that's just genetically in you. But there's a pattern, there's habits. So with these habits, I like to understand what these words mean, so that I can gain clarity, right? And understanding, so that I can apply it to my own life. Like, hold on, wait a minute. Let me do some evaluation of what I've been doing, or what I've been doing, or what I have been doing. You can't change something that you don't know, right? So if you don't know it, you don't know to change it. So I started looking into patterns, like what does patterns mean? People are just characters of habit. Well, what does characters of habit mean? We all have habits, whether they're good habits, whether they're bad habits. But a habit is a learned behavior that responds to certain stimuli and reinforces by repetition. So if every time somebody come at you reckless, verbally, your immediate response is, ah! And every single time a person come at you reckless, And every single time your response is, guess what? You've just created a habit because you're responding to a certain stimuli. And that stimuli is, oh, hell no, she is not about to come at me like that. So you're creating a habit. And unfortunately, that one right there, girlfriend, is not a good one. It's not. So repetition is the mother of skill. And if you keep finding yourself, keep doing those same things that are bad behavioral things, instead of, you know what? I'm going to remain in love because love is patient. Love is kind. And you know what, there are, and I've got to say this too, because I have to be realistic too. There are just some things that you just don't want to let slide by. There are some things you want to be like, oh, no, not today, right? However, it's all learning. It's all learning. So some habits are connected to instincts. And then you have some habits that are just acquired, that you just got along the way. Some things just instincts, the habits that you just have. But habits are generally automatic responses, and sometimes they can be compulsive. And then let somebody listen. And it don't even have to be just bad. These are just good habits. Every time you smell some food, it smells so good, guess what? You want to go get it. Every time you just that smell. Oh my goodness. Let me go get me some. Or let me share a habit of mine. At a particular gas station, they sold Krispy Kreme donut. Every time I went to that gas station to get gas, every single time, and this was a habit, I would always go in there and get me 1 or 2 donuts. Yeah. So, habits, like I said, you have good habits, you have bad habits. Habits are a way a person reacts under a certain situation. Habits carry moral overtones that can be deemed good or bad. An acquired behavior pattern followed until it becomes involuntary. So that's why they say if you want to habits, you can change your habits. You can create new habits. In order to replace the bad habit, you have to create a new one anyway. So if every time I go to the gas station and, I'm pumping my gas and I go in there, get me 1 or 2 Krispy Kreme donuts, in order for me to change that habit, in order for me to replace that particular habit, every time I go to the gas station, I just don't go inside. So that's how I would change that. I would keep doing it until it becomes natural. That's just like, good example, person that smokes cigarettes. I had read that there was an individual who every day, every time, as soon as they wake up, they pop a cigarette in their mouth. Every time they woke up, the first thing they did before brushing their teeth, taking a shower, they go pop a cigarette in their mouth. Well, what they did to replace that habit, every morning when they got up, instead of popping that cigarette in their mouth, they would pop their gym shoes on, and then they will go running. And they did it every morning, every day. And eventually, doing that, it helped them stop smoking cigarettes, period. If you can just change one thing that you do, for some reason, everything else begins to change for you. Everything else. So I'm sitting up here thinking, I had saw something on TV that said, not on TV, on social media, and it was talking about how, CEOs and are success. Why CEOs are successful, and it's because they made their beds up every morning. Every morning they made their beds up. The point to that is, if you establish a discipline every morning, eventually it is going to change everything that you do and help you become more successful than you were before. So that's what's going through my mind talking about this. And then what's also going through my mind is, okay, maybe I need to start making my bed up every morning. It don't even have to be that. It could just be, the first thing you do when you wake up. It could be just going out for a run. But it's something about having a discipline set in place. Anyway, so again, patterns, habits, pattern, habit, it's the same. Customary practice or use, it's a manner, it's a mode, it's a nature, it's an obsession, quirks, it's your style, the routine that you have, it's a thing that you do. It can also be an addiction, it's a fixation, and it's a way, it's a frame of mind. So I just wanted to get into patterns and habit and kind of explain to you, which you probably already know. However, just a little bit more in depth of it, right? So there's a pattern to everything you do. Some patterns are healthy. Others, well, let's just say that they can cost a woman years in personal growth and self-discovery. And of course, you know me, my purpose is to help you live yours. And so when I see certain words, they just pop out. They say, they call me. They go, hey, Gail, right here. That's how they do me. I don't know how they do you, but that's how they do me. They say, hey, Gail, right here. I'm right here. Over here. That's how they get my attention. But anyway, so I did circle personal growth and self-discovery. Personal growth. Oh my gosh. Can you just think back 5 years ago? You're not where you were 5 years ago. There's been some personal growth. You look back 15, 20 years ago, you don't think the same as you did back then. You know what I mean? So there's some personal growth that had occurred. However, self-discovery, learning about self. I always say this in relationships. I know throughout my relationships, I've learned a lot about me. You learn so much about yourself in relationships, period. It doesn't necessarily have to be a companionship. It doesn't necessarily have to be boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about the relationship you have with family, the relationship you have with friends. You learn a lot about you more than anything. Although you're sitting up there paying attention to them. And, oftentimes, if not a lot of times, we dismiss us because we're so focused on what they're doing, how they doing it. I see you, right? And so we lose sight of really understanding or being on that journey of self-discovery of us. So personal growth is nothing but an ongoing process of understanding and developing yourself in order to achieve your fullest potential. That's personal growth. So it's a development act or it's a process. And of course, development, when you think about personal growth is a process. It's the process of it, honey. I wish I could just jump over the process and just be there. That when you go, listen, this is what I say. You have to trust the process. Although you don't like it. I'm the first to admit I can't stand having to go through the process. However, when I think about the benefits that I'm going to receive towards the end of the process, when it's all said and done, when I've gone through my go through, the sun will come out tomorrow. That's exactly how it is. It's like you go through this storm. The process, it takes you through a storm. You got thunder, lightning, tornado. It's cold. It's freezing. I can't see. It's raining so hard. The thunder, the lightning is so loud. The process. And eventually, towards the end of that process, the sun always comes out. But I still can't stand it. So, personal growth causes you to evolve. You evolve. We're constantly evolving. Well, yeah, we're constantly evolving. It's the same with, being a baby. Here it is, you have a newborn. The newborn evolves into this big old 1-year-old. Like, wait a minute. It took you a whole year to evolve into being one, and you can walk, you blah blah blah, talk, you like plan, Next thing you know, that 1-year-old evolves into this 10-year-old girl who went from blah 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 to no, hold on, you see what I mean? It's evolving. You evolve, you grow from 10 to being 20 years old. You may have a little bit of the eye, but there have been some lessons that you've learned along the way that has caused you to grow into this level of maturity, right? So personal growth, you evolve. There's improvement. Addition. There's a boost. It's ongoing too. That stuff is ongoing. Although some people, they could be 50 years old and still wearing their shoe size. I'm just saying. But everybody's personal growth and development is different. It's not the same for everyone. Although I may feel like, okay, you 50 years old. You should be way past that childish stage. However, it really depends on how much self-discovery they've had along that personal growth too. Because see, you can have in order for personal growth to take place, there has to be self-discovery in that too. If you don't sit back and evaluate how you handled that situation, or ask yourself certain questions like, who am I? What do I really like? If I could, and I always say this, the same questions you ask him who is interested in you, or you may be interested in him. Hold on, let me see if he got his ish together, girl. Let me see. So do you pay your bills on time? Do you go to the gym and work? You know what? I want to learn more about, if he's healthy. Well, what kind of foods do you prefer eating? Do you cook your own? You see what I mean? The same questions and the same curiosity and the interest that we have for another person. When we begin to ask those same questions about ourselves, now we're on this journey to self-discovery. Who am I? What do I like? You really get to see you. And you then you can kind of like, okay, because you always got people telling you about you. And you ever had somebody that's constantly telling you about yourself? Like, wait a minute, hold on. Enough about me. Well, what about you? Right? You ever been in that situation where you always got this person who is always telling you about you as if they're so perfect, have no flaws, right? But what about you? Again, the journey is more for us than them. It's more for you than them. The personal growth and self-discovery. And of course, talk about a little bit more about self-discovery. It's just a process of acquiring insight into your character. That's it. That's all it is. It's a process of achieving self-knowledge. That's it. You. But, people be too busy trying to have self-discovery about other people when it's not about the other person. It's really about you, and vice versa, right? And then moving on, such was the case with Gina. So see, she just couldn't fathom how she constantly found herself in an endless string of dead-end relationships with men. Who am I talking to? It was a trend. Wow. So this was a trend for Gina. This was a trend for her. Keep getting into these relationships that's not going nowhere, and they just end up becoming nothing. So it was a trend that was taking its toll in ways she couldn't fathom. Often, and I had to really put this one in brackets. So often she would find herself staring at her reflection in the mirror and asking. So she's looking at herself in the mirror and she's asking herself this: where are the good men? Gosh, why the hell can't I find one? Do I have a sign on my back? If you're a jerk, a loser, a user, or in any way bad news for a woman, give me a call. Isn't that interesting? So she's looking at herself in the mirror and she's wondering, why is she attracting these type of men? You do have women, I'm telling you, and I've seen it, who've got, I want to be married. And I use the word tattooed across their forehead. I really do, because it's right there. You could just see the desperation. You could just see it through the things that they say, through their behavior, the actions that they're doing, that they are desperately wanting to be married. Some people just don't need to be married. Some people don't have to be married. And then some people just aren't marriage material, and that is okay. That's the thing. Like, it is okay to know that you're just not marriage material and be okay with it. Some people don't. Some people be like, I am marriage material. I'll make a good wife. Not really understanding that, hold on, wait a minute. You're more powerful. And powerful means getting results. You're much better off being alone because of what you're able and capable of doing. Or not even alone. I'm going to take that back. Not alone. You are much more better not being married. That does not mean that you don't deserve a companion. That does not mean that you don't deserve a relationship. You can be in a relationship with somebody and not be married. And for some people, it works. the success rate in that is astonishing, right? But for some reason, people just see the negative, the bad aspect of that, and it's not really bad. You have a healthy relationship, and you're not married. What's wrong with that? Anyway, so for some reason, she kept attracting these type of men, and she couldn't understand why. Why am I attracting these men who want to use? So yes, so now we're on page 11 at the top. So yes, this was an extreme assessment of her recent situation. So now she's assessing her recent situation. Okay, assessment, evaluation. It's an appraisal. Before you purchase a home, you want to get it appraised to see how much it's worth. Before you, after you've gone to any type of thing, or you saw a show or play, or if you went to, if you've taken a course, if you went to a conference, if you went to some event, there's always an evaluation towards the end. They want you to evaluate the program or evaluate something. Let me know, give me your feedback on what you think, so that I can take that information and I can use it according to how I need to. I can make certain adjustments as I need to improve or get better. I got the appraisal on this home. They're saying that it's worth 30. In order for me to make this worth 150,000, that means I have to put at least another 30,000 or another 40,000 into this house to make it worth that much. You see what I mean? You're able to take that information and use it to make you better. So here it is. Gina has finally reached a point where now she's thinking, she's assessing, she's on this personal growth, self-discovery. They all come together. Hello. Because if you don't assess, if you don't evaluate, if you don't take an appraisal on you, right, you will never get to the personal growth, and then you will never acknowledge you in self-discovery. Does that make sense? So this is why all of these things it's like they all come together, and they all come together for your good, not theirs, yours, so you can become better. That's it. That is it. Now, so yes, this was an extreme assessment of her recent situation, but sadly spot on. It's sad. It's not a good. Who wants a bad evaluation? Who wants a bad assessment? But when you think about it, it's not really bad if you can take that information and make it good. You see what I mean? So it hurt to think she could be so blinded by the lies she believed from men. It hurt to think she could be so blinded. She wasn't trying to see that. By the lies she believed from men. Hurt, blinded, believed. They were like, hey, Gail, right here. Hurt, blinded, believed. Isn't that we just don't want to see it? I mean, we see it, but we don't want to acknowledge it. We want to, because there's that hope, or the benefit of the doubt, or, sometimes it's, well, I don't want to be alone. Well, at least I do have a man, or, well, at least I do have a husband. But in all fairness, Gina suspected it went deeper and had more to do with her than with them. See, there's this gut feeling, this intuition that we have as women when we know that it's something about me. And here's the thing. There's this talk about it's not you, Gail. It's him. Well, really, it is me because I'm allowing. Why am I allowing him to lie to me? Why am I allowing myself to believe him? Why am I allowing myself to be blinded by the foolishness, blinded by the red flags? So, although I may be doing the right thing by him, I'm allowing him to do all these things to me. So when you hear people say it ain't you, girlfriend, it ain't you. He just jacked up. Newsflash, it is about you. It's most definitely about you because it's what you're allowing him to do to you. And if you cannot come to an agreement, if both people can't come to an agreement, hey, listen, you keep lying to me. And at some point, all right, baby, I'm not gonna lie to you no more. I understand. And he continuously does it again. At some point, Gail, you're gonna have to make a decision to create boundaries that is going to force you to walk away from this relationship. Listen, that was just a mouthful. Eventually, you're going to have to create boundaries for you because you don't create, excuse me, understand this. We don't create boundaries for that person. We create certain boundaries because we just don't want to be lied to. We don't want to be hurt by oh, hold on, wait a minute. Let me just say this. There's a difference between creating boundaries versus protecting yourself. There's a difference. Protecting yourself from being hurt. Now you just shut down all emotional circuits. You shutting it all down. No, 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 no. You got all kind of guards up. He can't even. There's no intimacy. There's no fairness in the relationship if there's no intimacy. And intimacy just simply means into me, being able to come into me. Not even a physical. Intimacy is all, it's allowing a person to be able to see you, the vulnerableness of intimacy, being able to share, those things that are within you that you normally don't share with the world, but you feel comfortable. You are allowing yourself to feel comfortable, feel safe to be able to share this with this person. When you are in that protection mode, all of that is shut down. Can't nobody get in. Here it is. You got someone that's interested. You interested in him too, but you're not allowing yourself to be in a moment of intimacy. You're not allowing yourself to be intimate. And intimacy is not physical. A lot of times people get intimacy mixed up with physical intimacy. We have intimate conversations with our besties. We have intimate conversations sometimes with people we don't even know. So intimacy doesn't necessarily mean physical intimacy. But anyway, so yeah, it has nothing to do with them, honey. It has everything to do with you. Why are you allowing him to do X, Y, and Z? That's the thing. And that was something that I had to understand for me. But when that question goes unanswered, you are continually trying to find out, what did you do wrong? Oh yeah, you did something wrong, all right? You allowed this mess to continue. But the question is, why did you allow this mess to keep festering, to keep going? Why? And those are the questions of, what did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong per se, but you did allow him to do you wrong. But the question is, why did you allow him to do those things to you? See how it eventually it comes right back to you. We can sit up here and point the finger. You lied to me. You did this to me. You did that to me. Nope, I'm not. Nope, but you did this. We can do that all day. And for some people, real life, they've been doing this for years to that person. Instead of looking in the mirror and saying, you did this to me. You allowed this foolishness to take place. You see what I mean? It creates a different perspective. It puts you right back on that journey, once again, of self-discovery in order for you to grow. You have to ask the tough questions, the questions of you're not really blaming you. You're just trying to wake up from this sleep. You've been asleep. You've been asleep throughout this relationship. You woke up a couple of times, but you chose to take naps in between, and you chose to go right back to sleep, and you chose to be in La La Land for the sake of uh, putting on a show or putting on this front. And some people, they remain in these relationships because they're trying to prove a point to other people in the midst of damaging themselves. Okay. Let me stop. I'm not an expert. I'm really not. I'm just an expert on my life, my situation, what I went through, and the things that I've seen. That's it. So, moving on. So her childhood wasn't a living nightmare, but it had left its invisible scars. There is something about the things that we see as children growing up, the things that, we subconsciously end up doing later in our adult years. And for some, they think that they think that they're not repeating those curses, generational curses, or those things that they saw what mom went through, but you are repeating it. It's just with a different person, and the story is just different. The story is different from your mother's. Because the situation is different. However, the same thing that she did, you're doing it too. And it makes you no better than her until you come to self-discovery, until you wake up and realize, and then now you've hit that personal growth. But you have some people who believe that they have overcame because their financial status is different from the mother's, or their educational status is different from the mother's, or the type of man that they chose was different from the mother's. When in actuality, although your story, the characters that are in your story may be different, your same frame of mindset and what you've been allowing to take place in your marriage or your relationship still models the same frame of mind, or it models the same behavior that you saw growing up. So, going in, everyone else had a different father and knew who their father was. She, on the other hand, never knew or met her own dad. So her mother claimed she didn't remember him, but there were whispers to the contrary, and we're gonna stop here. So there were whispers to the contrary. So she didn't know she's never met her dad, don't know who he is. The mother is claiming she don't know. And for the life of me, I don't understand why we do that as a culture. I know, especially with my family that live down south, there's just some things that they're going to go to their grave with. They're not going to say. And I don't know where that even came from, why it's like that. But there are some folk, some who are still like that. They will not say. They will carry it to their grave. So it was an unfortunate situation for Gina to not know who her dad was, never met him, and then especially with the mother claiming, and sometimes, there are situations where they just don't know. But when you have people walking around you and you're hearing things about your dad or things that, you know what, she know who that girl's daddy is. She know who that child's father is. I don't know why she won't say that. When you hearing things like that, it can do something to you. You know what I mean? It really does affect you in some kind of way. Some kind of way it affects you. You may not be able to pinpoint it, but it really do. It really do. And then it also carry on, especially when you don't have a good, healthy relationship with your father. It shows up in your relationships with men, the type of men that you choose, the things that you allow these men to do to you. It really shows up. And not to say that there's a such thing as a perfect relationship. There's no such thing as a perfect relationship, but there is a such thing as a healthy ass relationship. And I'm sorry to say that, but say it like that, but it really is. And I'm saying it like that because I was told by a girlfriend that there's no such thing as a perfect relationship. You're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. You're going to have situations because you have two people who are growing, in their own and into their own. And as they're growing into their own, you're going to have some friction because you're trying to figure out, okay, so how can we get back to this? I've had my growth spurt and we kind of like this, we're head to head on something. Now we need to figure out, okay, how can we come to a solution to where we can come back? And that's a healthy ass relationship. And there are a lot of healthy relationships where people are able to agree, even when they disagree, where people are able to where couples are able to come to a solution. And if it means seeking counseling, if it means going to the pastor of your church, if it means seeking advice from elders, then you do so with that understanding that, we're off. We need to figure out how do we come together. So you just don't put up. It's not a matter of putting up. It's a matter of having an understanding of that person. But you don't. When you know who you are and you understand and recognize your worth, there is no such thing as, you just accepting sugar honey iced tea. There is a difference of, if he respects you and you respect him, we and you respect him, he respects you, we have a healthy relationship. You see what I mean? And of course, you're going to have your ups and downs. As long as those ups and downs, you're not punching and hitting somebody. You're not verbally abusing that person. You're not keeping them away from friends and family. You see what I mean? You're not beating, we're having a conversation. We're having a disagreement, not an argument. It's a difference. You can have an argument and you can have a disagreement. Argument is where blah, blah, and you know, but a disagreement is, okay, babe, what do we need to, how do we fix this? You know, you having a conversation without putting somebody down. And trust and believe, there are a lot of relationships that exist. Now, you may have your spurts every now and then, but you're not having them all the same every single time. If you're having them every single time, listen, I really want to say, but I'm not going to say. But you know, there is a such thing as healthy relationships, and there are a lot of healthy relationships that are being modeled. And just because it looks good doesn't mean that it is good. You know, with social media, you're able to create something that may look like it's all good and dandy, but when we begin to look inside, it's like, it's crazy. So, you know, yeah. So I don't went on another tangent once again. Look, you're gonna have to say, Gail, okay, focus, honey, focus, get back on track. So I'm gonna end here. We left with, but there were whispers to the contrary, which is the second paragraph on page 11. We will continue on. But let me know. You know, share your thoughts about this. You know, relationships is a hot topic today. It's been a hot topic for years. I'm not a relationship coach. However, I understand relationships. I understand, you know, allowing a person to be who they are and being able to still respect them. You see what I mean? But relationships, period. You know. So leave a comment. Tell me, you know, what did you like, what you didn't like. Give it a thumbs up. Even share it with someone who you think may need to hear this perspective. You know what I mean? Remember the book, you know, She Was Made. And it's all about learning, discovering. And when you learn, you know, you discover, and now you thrive, right? It's all about grow. So, Gail Lee Gardner, I'm your spiritual coach. Not religious, though. Not religious. I just believe in the book of life, which people call the Bible. That right there, that book of life has so many gems and golden nuggets and things like that. But I'm just a vessel being used, and hopefully my purpose is being fulfilled. And hopefully I've been able to help you discover yours. So until next time, continue to have what you have today to empower tomorrow. I love you.